Hey, it's Douglas Beck with The Growth Collector. Today we're diving into a game-changing strategy for real estate professionals, how to scale your business without spending hours on the phone. If you're still making all your own calls, you're leaving money on the table. Stick around because I'm about to show you how outsourcing can take your business to the next level. And hey, if you're serious about growth, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on more strategies like this. Now, let's get into it. And I want you to think not just people in another country, but other people that can do the work in exchange for benefit to them, either direct benefit as pay me for my time and or pay me an incentive as in a commission or a combination thereof. So give me something. Is there anything? I know there's something. You guys are just being quiet right now. Is there anything that you feel like, I don't think I could outsource this to somebody else? Or it doesn't seem obvious. Let's go for one. What's the most common one? Maybe it's like, how do I basically find clients? Like, how do I do phone work is one that people get concerned about. Like, no one can talk like me. No one can think like I do. How would anyone ever be able to get someone to agree to do what I need them to do? Like, give me a listing or give me a property. Is that something that you guys think kind of like, realistically, I know somebody could do it, but they're not going to do it as good as I am. It's not about pride. It's just facts, right? We think it's like, how could they ever do it as good as I could, right? Or as you could. So the cool thing is technology allows you to use different area codes. We could register numbers in any area code you want, and it doesn't cost much at all, if anything. Actually, in some systems that we have, you can just get another number. It's a masking number or it's an actual phone number. So there's in our system, in the TLC system, which is part of what we do for our highest, committed customers and clients, people that are literally growing, having us grow their business kind of from the ground up, or just scaling it from multiple 6 figures to 7 figures kind of thing. That's our TLC platform. That includes a VA, but the VA is just one piece of that, right? Then there's the technology part, to your point, Jay. How do I do outbound calls and make sure my phone number is accurate to the place I'm calling? How do I sort through and keep those leads organized? How do I do nurturing sequences for email marketing and text message marketing? How do I do all the things that would keep me from, having to do all this stuff myself or having my VA work inefficiently? So we'll come to some of that. But like, before I go there, I want to address the sort of elephant in the room of like the cold calling or the warm calling or the hot calling. And how is this person going to do that phone work? And they're going to know how to speak like I do or how to get the deal done. So Chris is bilingual. Chris is in Peru. Chris is a newer addition to our team. Some of you know Chris, some of you don't know Chris. Chris is a virtual staff member, virtual, I would say, assistant, but more than that, he's a sales-oriented, skilled, trained expert at what he does. Okay, didn't know I speak Spanish. I just threw it out of the blue. Well, hey, at the end of the day, I deal enough with construction. Sometimes a lot of contractors happen to be Hispanic in different parts of Central and South America and stuff like that, and just parts of the U.S. U.S. It's a pretty significant Hispanic, population over here. So fact is, yes. So Chris, just today, example, okay? Chris, just today, I call Chris when I'm standing in front of my house to get a fence gate replaced, and I say, Chris, I need you to talk to this contractor in Spanish to explain to him what I need done to make sure it's correct and negotiate the price, all that. Chris is on speakerphone, and this is not exactly what we're talking about, but it's kind of related to it. It's better than what we're talking about, though, because you'll see why. Not only can Chris talk in English, but Chris can talk in Spanish. I can't speak Spanish like Chris can. So I'm not skilled to do sales or any sort of influence or helping people in Spanish like Chris can. That's one thing. And then on top of that, when I'm sitting there with this guy talking, the guy explains what he has to say. He says it to Chris. Chris goes back, explains it. Could I use Google Translate to like Jay's question? Yeah, I could use Translate. I could do like we were doing for a little bit. But ultimately, the experience is amplified in a very good way when someone can hear Chris, who's my guy that I'm paying for his time and effort and him to be a part of my team, to explain and show his commitment and courtesy to the guy who's in his natural language trying to help me out. And it reduces the friction. So these are psychological principles, not just practical sense of things. Like, it's saying, hey man, this guy, Yadel, I can't remember how to say his name, but he's like, whoa, like, you are not just a customer. You actually care enough to try to talk to me in Spanish with your guy to go speak to me in my native language, and you not have to use Translate. I think that makes a certain level of an impression. I know it would for me. If I'm not able to speak Spanish and he brought or English or something, and somebody said, hey, I want to do business with you, but I need to have this person, versus just me trying to sit there and figure out how to translate it. So that's one example of a sort of sizzle factor of having somebody, for example, who's bilingual to do phone work. Another component is, Chris, what's been predominantly your background and focus? And I want you to be transparent with the group here so they know, like, what have you done? What do you normally focus on? And to give us some results of other businesses, not our business, but just other things you've done. Like, when you first came on, what was the one customer you said, it doesn't go into the details, but like just a dollar amount roughly, or a range of how much production benefit to what you did for them and what benefit they got from your work?
Yeah, definitely. So it comes down very to the factor of product and the price ranges. So in terms of the leads, right, there's always going to be quality leads, bad leads, good leads. And there's a lot of time spent investing in figuring out who's what. A virtual assistant really helps with that because he can really knock down 8 hours, 4 hours, whichever, part-time, full-time, in any case, to really get those quality leads, get that data necessary to really identify who's worth what, right? And then pass it on to the marketing expenses or anything like that. So that way marketing and sales can have a synchronicity when it comes to finding those leads. So you can better the process of both of those. Now, in terms of leads,
Hold on one
when it
second. I'm
comes
sorry. Do you guys think Chris is in the US so far? Like it's on, okay, if you listen and you close your eyes, he sounds like he's pretty fluent in English, I would say. Would you guys agree? I mean, don't try to float his boat, just tell him straight up, he needs to work on it. I don't know. But I think he's pretty good. And I didn't actually find Chris myself. I had someone help me find him, but that's cool, right? Like he's able to speak. He's got a lot of personality, he's got a lot of vibe, he's got a lot of energy. He's not just a voice like, oh, hello, my name is Chris. Like I'm here to talk to you today. Like that's not how he speaks. He's got pizzazz, he's got energy, he's got personality. He's a person. There's like all of us. So now, Chris, let me just interrupt for a second. I want you to talk about the concept of setting up calls that are qualified appointments for a second. Just one of those tasks that a VA could do. And what did that do for the last engagement you had before you came on our team? What kind of production result as far as the scale of getting those appointments set for that other business owner who might be like somebody in this room, for example, besides just me? Like what can someone like you, if all they did was just focus on outbound and inbound sales, for example, and do marketing, what could they expect as far as over the course of a year? What's an example of that last client you worked with? What kind of value did you produce for them?
Okay, so the last client was a social media marketing agency, had nothing to do or any relevance with real estate. In matter of fact, I worked with them for a short amount of time, only 9 months, right? Didn't even complete a year, and I was able to help them generate over 1 million in revenue, right? And that's in terms of different quality leads and different packages that they've gathered, right? Prolonging upsells or getting new leads into converting them into actual clients. So it's a very diverse prospect, and that's what the results you can expect from a virtual assistant. In the terms of real estate, there's a lot more value involved. There's a lot more money at play than just, social media marketing. So you could quantify that by, exponential amounts.
Yeah, so like kind of building off, I'm just looking at Ben up top. I know he's listening in. Like for example, let's say Ben is looking to find investor for a deal that he has, and then let's say you had somebody like Chris who was helping you do the phone work, and he's getting leads from, let's say, your Facebook campaign. You put up a post on a Facebook thing, people respond. Chris catches the lead. Chris goes and he starts calling people based on the number they provided to call. Or maybe you have a database of people from a local RIA event, or maybe you're like Ken in the room, I think, is an agent. So Ken, he goes out to a networking group at the local realtor association meeting, and he meets other realtors, other agents, and they have an opportunity of some kind, or they got a happy hour. He goes to a happy hour with a title company, he finds some connections, or maybe he goes to an open house and people fill out a form and he gets some contacts, or maybe he has a campaign in a local word of mouth group because people are out there posting about what they need to do to sell their house, or they want to get out of this devastation they're in. They need someone to help them get work through that and get to their next house or get to their next rental. You say, hey, I got so many people to call, I can't physically call them myself. I got to get somebody like Chris to make the phone calls, to introduce our business, to introduce our concept, to qualify the lead, to see if I can serve them or not. And Chris is literally in business as an entrepreneur himself to do just that. He's a freelance entrepreneur in Peru that allows him to be flexible, just like Mo is flexible, has family, has other commitments, but he's able to work and has committed himself to a career, if you would, working with other entrepreneurs to help them do the things they need to do, like us. So here's my point of this whole thing. Chris can do a better job than I can do doing phone work. And that's a compliment to Chris, but it's factual, okay? Because he can speak in Spanish and he's trained and focused on one type of task every single day. All right, so now you see how leveraging a VA can completely change the game in real estate. It's not just about saving time, it's about working smarter and closing more deals. What do you think? Would you trust a virtual assistant to handle your calls? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you got value from this, like, share, and let me know what topics you want covered next. See you in the next one.